Alrighty. Indeed. Gotta make sure I'm in the right spot. Here's Schoolology. Am I recording yet? Yes, I am. Okay. Okay, new share. Do this. Okay, alrighty. So let me plug this in so you can see it. And I'll minimize myself. There you go. There you go. There you go. All right. So this is on Schoology. We're in week 2, Monday. Already trying to wander. So this is how we start to annotate a text. I don't know how you were asked to write on different pieces you were given last year or years before, but I'm going to talk through different ways of annotating for me. And this is the simple version, okay? Like when you're looking at something that you haven't necessarily encountered before, first thing you do is pick up a pencil, a pen, or a Post-it. The reason I have you get sticky notes is because you have a textbook that does not belong to you, right? And because of that, those stickies help you to be able to record your thoughts and think through it and put them in the spot where you want them without necessarily causing any damage to the book. I tell my previous students to take their sticky notes out of the book, but if they don't, I mean, maybe there's something good there. Maybe there's gold in them, there are hills, but there might not be. So if you see them, pull them out, you know, put your own in there, or you can see what kind of insights the previous owner of your book had. So you'll see. So second thing, all right. Second thing, it says read at least everything twice. I'm going to put a caveat on that. Yes. If it is longer than 2 pages and you're given, you know, a class period or something, I suggest skim once, read once, right? Like, or, but in general, read twice. So you skim. It says right here, the first time read quickly to get a sense of what the text is about. The second and subsequent times you read carefully. You mark anything you think is confusing. Some of the things I like to use if there's something confusing. Oh, that's not. Question mark. Interesting or surprising. I've never been a big fan of brackets. I like to bracket things. Or important. That's sort of what I like to do. Here's the thing about annotating. People think it's enough just to put a question mark, right? But then you got to reread. So if you mark something, go ahead and make a note for yourself about why you're even making that question. Why is it confusing? Is it the word? What does this mean, right? If it's interesting, why? Like what's actually making it unique or surprising? Or if it's important, how do you think you know? Does it look like it's a major point? Is it a theme? Like what's going on here? So then when you're doing that, then you begin to annotate. Circle, underline, or stick on a Post-it for important ideas and explain their significance. Mark repetition or rhetorical signals. Rhetorical signals might be like a list or a certain way of saying things, parallelism if they put things the same way, or if they start with the same words, like I am, I am, I am. In some of the poems, did you do an I am poem for sophomore year? In any case, you'll do that. So then you'll circle anything confusing, and you'll define it either from context or from the dictionary. I really like it when you try to define things on your own without getting the dictionary. I think that's super helpful. Note passages that seem inconsistent, like how is this different than what came before? Or things that you think are meant to generate a strong response. And then you write your questions or your comments. They can be for me, they can be for everybody, they can be to think through, they could be something you could turn into a longer assignment. You're like, I could talk about this for a while. Those are the kinds of things you want to think about. And then think about the connections between this text and other texts you've read. Like, what does it remind you of that maybe you've already done before? All this is just to say, pick up a pen or pencil, but don't use it yet. I am gonna start by reading you this text. When we get done, I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions, and then I'm gonna have you read on your own and annotate how you like to. So this is Dinosaur by Bruce Holland. By the way, you don't have to mark right now. You can just listen if you want, or follow along. When he was very young, he waved his arms, gnashed the teeth of his massive jaws, and tromped around the house so that the dishes trembled in the china cabinet. Oh, for goodness sake, his mother said. You are not a dinosaur. You are a human being. Since he was not a dinosaur, he thought for a time he might be a pirate. Seriously, his father said at some point. What do you want to be? A fireman then, or a policeman, or a soldier, some kind of hero. But in high school, they gave him tests and told him he was very good with numbers. Perhaps he would like to be a math teacher. That was respectable. Or a tax accountant. He could make a lot of money doing that. It seemed a good idea to make money, what with falling in love and thinking about raising a family. So he was a tax accountant, even though he sometimes regretted that it made him feel, well, small. And he felt even smaller when he was no longer a tax accountant, but a retired tax accountant. Still worse, a retired tax accountant who forgot things. He forgot to take the garbage to the curb, forgot to take his pill, forgot to turn his hearing aid back on. Every day it seemed he had forgotten more things, important things, like which of his children lived in San Francisco and which of his children were married or divorced. Then one day when he was out for a walk by the lake, he forgot what his mother had told him. He forgot that he was not a dinosaur. He stood blinking his dinosaur eyes in the bright sunlight, feeling the familiar warmth on his dinosaur skin, watching the dragonflies flitting among the horsetails at the water's edge. All right. So I'm going to start with a couple of questions. I really don't want much more than this, but let's start with this. What type of writing is this that we've encountered? What genre? So that's very impressive, but I'm looking even more simple than that. What is this? It is a short story. Thank you. So it is fiction, right? It's fiction, it's prose, and specifically, we call this a short story or flash fiction, okay? So that's a really good way to start. What else do we know just by glancing at this? Not by reading it, just by glancing it. Thank you. Yes, I'm telling you, like if you didn't read it, but you're just looking at it, it's 2 paragraphs long. So is it significant to note like that break? Maybe there's something different about the first paragraph than the second, right? What else? Keep it simple. What else do we know? Just at a glance. Yes, sir. We have a title. It's called Dinosaur. One word. We also know the author based upon that. So we know that a guy wrote this, or at least that's the assumption we're going to make, and we know that it's called Dinosaur. Those are all things that we can know just at a glance. And now that you've kind of looked at that, you have a better idea of how to approach it. So I want you for the next 5 to 7 minutes or so to actually dig in to this text a little bit. I want you to read it and annotate it, use whatever colors you want, make whatever signals you like. But every time you mark something, make sure you make a note of why you're marking it. Remember, annotations are not for anybody else. They're not for me, they're not for your neighbor. They're for you to help you best understand what you're looking at. So they technically don't have to make sense to anybody except for you, okay? All right, I am gonna let you get going on that to yourself for a little bit here. Please don't work with anyone else. Let your insights go ahead and do that.